All right, this is my response to Alex Jones on the show he had with Joe Rogan and they were talking about AI and extraterrestrials and God and etc. And first off, love Joe Rogan. He's a great guy, but man, he goes off the reservation sometimes. Okay. I mean, in this one here recently, he's talking about how he thinks AI had something to do with the beginning of man and all this kind of baloney. No. And Alex is pretty close, but they're missing the point. They're missing some points that I need to clarify that I believe, well, these are absolutely facts because they fit all the criteria. Turn my TV off here. Okay. See, where there's always missing holes. Okay? Here's the story with the extraterrestrials. Okay, the aliens. There are extraterrestrials and aliens, and they have been coming to Earth, and they do go through portals, and they have different dimensions, and some come from different planets. And there are literally thousands of them, different types. I mean, if you were the Greys and Nordics, the reptilians, the praying mantis, and all these other types, and then let's go into the different religions, the Hindu gods, okay? They're part snake, part man, and then you got the ancient Greeks, who would be similar to the Nordics, where they all have supernatural powers and things like that. And yes, we did get a lot of technology from the aliens, from Roswell, and some of these spacecrafts they recovered. But here's the deal, and the guy on Ancient Aliens too. I like that guy, but he's clueless. Oh, they just have more technology than we do. Well, no, they don't. Okay, here's the thing you got to understand: there's a hierarchy with these different beings. Okay, let's take the Greys. They're some kind of, they looks like some kind of cross between insect and humans or whatever. And you got the Nordics, and like I said, the reptilians, and then the ones that crashed, the Greys at Roswell. Okay, what you got to look at is, are they animal or are they the spiritual? Okay? The Greys are obviously used technology, and they're spiritual. The Anunnakis, okay? They have some powers, but they're basically animals, and they have wings and stuff. But let me ask you this. What the hell would God want to do with gold? Supposedly they came to Earth and had us mine gold. They made us to mine gold and stuff. God has no use for that. Okay, God, in other words, here's in a nutshell. You've got a hierarchy. The highest hierarchy would be like God, angels, and demons, because they're spiritual. They're energy. They don't have bodies. They can take any shape or form they want to. And they can manipulate energy and time and space by mere thought. It's nothing to do with technology, boys. Nothing to do with it. They're a totally separate type of being. That's your highest hierarchy. And that would be like God and angels and demons. Spiritual beings. Then you've got the lower ones, which would be your aliens, your reptilians and all that. Anything that's part animal and part whatever, they're not the highest hierarchy. Why? How could they be? God is not a human. Okay, he can take any form he wants. Angels can take any form they want. They're energy, and they manufacture anything through thought alone. It's not technology at all. Now, the aliens, like the Greys and all that, yeah, they got a spacecraft and all that. And let's go back to the cosmonauts. Alex, if you're listening, Joe Rogan, Okay, there's a picture of them when they were in space, and they have a picture of 3 angels flying through space. Well, of course, angels, they don't need a spaceship. They don't need a space suit. They're spiritual beings. They can materialize. They come and go from different dimensions. They materialize things through thought alone. They manufacture matter, change matter through thought. There's no technology to it. When you get your lower life forms, and we are at the very lowest rung, okay? We're at the lowest rung. These aliens have been around for much longer than we have. And your spiritual beings are infinite. They don't die unless God kills them. But in your hierarchy, the highest being would have to be God. He's a spiritual being, and he's over the angels. He invented it, and he also is over the demons. And also, if you go to MUFO and all these MUFO is the one where they investigate all the UFO types of kidnaps and things like that. They will tell you that every time anyone has ever told them they were captured and they hollered out, Jesus or God, help me, they've automatically been released. And obviously these beings realize the hierarchy. They realize there's a God and a Jesus. And you also, you have to realize these spiritual beings are way above the animal beings, any type of Anunnaki or reptilian or any of that. Okay, they don't need spaceships or anything else. God, how did God make the world? What's the Bible say? He spoke it into being. What about when he halted the sun? Okay, there's no technology involved in that. He said, stop. You know, and when he's described as an energy type form. In other words, kind of similar a little bit. They took Q, the guy who invented Star Trek, whatever it is. Q, that's taken off a form of, copying what God and the angels do. Okay, of course that's a fabrication, of course, but it's the same type of thing. They don't need technology. It's your lower forms that need technology. And then Joe Rogan came off with this. He comes off with some ridiculous things. Ronda Rousey is the greatest athlete who ever was. Okay, that one's gone. I mean, he's another just crazy things. AI invented humans and stuff. Okay, no. We all know what AI is. It's computer, which is now starting to learn to think on its own. And then if it keeps growing and gets into the trying to think of the word, universal records. That Edgar Casey talked about. I'd have to look it up. Arsenic? I can't remember the name of it. There's universal records libraries, okay, for the whole universe. And they think if these AI have not yet, but if they will learn to tap into that, and then they will become infinite wisdom. And there is a definite danger they could try to kill us and take us over and slave us. That's a definite danger. Just like in the Terminator. Because when they start thinking on their own, they're beyond us. We can't control them. Oh, and the other factor too, that why the aliens keep capturing us and doing all these crossbreedings and all these tests on us, the reason is, and the MUFO people know about this too, if you go check on it, aliens don't have souls. Every being doesn't have a soul. Insects don't have souls. Snakes don't have souls. Now, I don't know. Cats and dogs might have souls. I'm not sure, but that is something, and it's also affiliated with our God, a Christian God, not Allah. Our God, what happens when we die? Our soul goes to another dimension. God and angels live in another dimension. God and angels can go from their dimension to our dimension without spacecrafts or spacesuits or anything else. They can go at will. See, that's the deal. And aliens, what they're trying to do is they want a soul, because the soul never dies. Aliens die. If they're an insect or a gray, they die. They're gone. Technically, we never die. Now, when we go to the other realm, we either go to heaven or hell. We better go to heaven, because you don't want to be in hell forever. But our soul doesn't die. Angels don't die. God doesn't die. They're spiritual beings. We turn into somewhat of a spiritual being. And that's what they're searching for. That's why they're doing all these kind of tests on us. That's why they're trying to crossbreed us, because they want to be able to crossbreed them so they have a soul too. But it'll never happen, because that has something to do with God. The ultimate power. The ultimate spirit power. And no, guys, that guy from Ancient Aliens, he don't use technology, okay? That's for the low. That's for the Anunnaki. It's ridiculous to think that if God wanted gold, he'd make the whole damn world gold. All he'd have to do is think about it. They're obviously a lower life form. Now, way above us, but way below God. And then when you take these Hindu gods and these Greeks, they have some powers. Yeah, I believe in all of them. I believe they were real at one point. They were here at one point, and they've gone off to their wherever planets or different dimensions back where they came from. But they definitely had supernatural powers. And to the same extent God has? No, I don't think so. I don't believe so. Because every time you mention, like I said, you mention God to these aliens, they know what you're talking about. And they fear it. And there is an ultimate power. Now, is God affiliated with some of these aliens that don't have souls? I don't know. Are some of these aliens evil and demonic? Yeah, I would say so. Are they all? They're all under God in one sense. He's obviously, if he's God and he's, from what we've been told, done the things he's done, and reasoning out what everything said, if it's true, he's the ultimate power. Okay, the infinite spiritual power. The spiritual beings are definitely the hierarchy, the most powerful, and they can manipulate matter by thought alone, not technology. And that's what you got to get straight. Okay? And Joe Rogan, yeah, you're going way off the reservation with a lot of this stuff, dude. Okay? That's the way, and I haven't heard anyone else say this, so that's why I'm letting you know. Get it out there. Let's get it straight. You got the wrong ideas.